is here to sing you a little song and talk to you about Vivo, which is releasing on Netflix on August 6th, 2021. It's a new animated film from Sony Pictures Animation, which they've been on kind of a tear recently. They released Mitchell's vs. the Machines earlier this year, which was fantastic. That was an amazing animated film, one of my favorites of this year. And they're following that up with Vivo, which is it's an animated film. The main draw is Lin-Manuel Miranda. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the film, four things I liked about it, three things I didn't like, and then discuss the ending with you. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers. So if you don't want to know anything about the film, just turn this off. Go, you can read my review on watcherpass.com, which is a little more vague, spoiler free, or you can, watch the movie when it comes out on August 6th and then come back. Or if you really want to know, you've been warned. So Vivo is the main draw is Lin-Manuel Miranda. He voices Vivo, he does the songs, he has a lot of his style, and you can feel that in the film. There's a definite Latin flair to it. The film starts in Cuba and then goes to Miami. So, very heavily Latin influenced city. There's this Latin inspiration throughout, which was really, fun to see, is really nice to see. And I love seeing animated films that just deal with different cultures. Like, I think that that's a great thing for kids to experience and to kind of get a flavor of, especially having a flavor of Cuba. And in the film, Vivo's owner slash friend Andrés, he is a street performer, and Vivo has been helping him for years and years and years. And early on, Andrés gets a letter from an old love named Marta, played by Gloria Estefan, and she tells him about a retirement concert that she's going to do, and how she started thinking about her past and about their time together, and how much she wants to see him there. And so he gets very excited, gets ready, and then he dies. He dies suddenly. And so it's kind of left to Vivo to go to this concert and deliver this message that Andrés was going to give to Marta, essentially about his feelings for her. He was going to finally tell her after like 40 years, I think. It was a very long time. And so the film is about this adventure to get to Miami before this retirement concert, which I believe is in like a day. So they don't have much time to get from Cuba to Miami. So three things I liked about this film, or four things I liked about this film. And I'll have a little tune before. Sorry, my guitar is out of tune, so you just have to deal with it. So the first thing is the animation. I mean, Sony Pictures does some beautiful work, and they have a very bright, colorful animation style, and this film is no different. So you have some beautiful, warm shots in Cuba, and then some nightlife neon shots in Miami, and it's all just very bright and colorful, and kind of just pops off the screen. And on top of that, you've got Vivo, who's this cute little monkey who, you're gonna have to love him. And Gabi is also very distinctly animated. She has her own style, and I'll get into them in a second. But, overall, the animation is beautiful. It's going to really transport you to these places and really, makes this a colorful, vibrant film, as you would expect from a kid's movie. The second thing I loved is the Latin flavor. It's kind of throughout this film, as I mentioned, and that's kind of a hallmark of Lin-Manuel Miranda's work. He really, he loves his culture, and so he puts that into the screen, and his love is infectious throughout. So you've got this great music, like all the all the Latin instruments. You've got some bongos, you've got some blaring horns, you've got all this great music in the film. You also have Spanish words used throughout, which I really like as well. I like introducing kids to other languages, and they don't like some phrases are in Spanish, and kids can just kind of get the context clues, or just get familiar with hearing Spanish, which is nice to see. And also the locations, like I said, you've got Cuba, you've got Miami, you've got Key West, all places that have heavily Spanish, Latin influences. The third thing I loved is the music, and let me be clear, the music in this, I really appreciate it. I especially liked it on my second viewing. The first viewing, the music it didn't pop out to me, and the second viewing, it still wasn't amazing, blow me away, but it was very catchy and very entertaining. And I liked that this film, the music is more of a like remix style. You've got that Latin influence, but there's a lot of kind of more modern electronic remix beats in it. So it kind of gives it a new flavor. And something I think especially kids would like. If you can hear remixes, they can hear kind of making their own music, and it was a nice touch in this film. And the last thing I loved is, the main characters. The main character is a cute monkey. You can't not like a cute monkey, and especially a cute monkey that wears this wonderful hat and it plays music and dances around. And then I also especially liked Gabi. Like, Gabi's character is a little bit abrasive at the start, but as the adventure goes on, she grows on you. And I really liked that her character did not fit into any boxes. Like, she was definitely her own person, and she had her own interests, and she didn't want to do anything conventional, which I think is a great thing to have in a kids movie. You want to give kids some examples of people that maybe are thinking outside the box, or maybe some, something that kids can relate to, and you don't just want to have the same type of characters. So I really liked them both. So things I didn't like. The introduction, and I'll, the introduction I think was a little rushed, and I don't really fault the movie. You can't really have a kids movie that's that long, but you had this relationship between Andres and Vivo that just, it seemed they didn't, I don't think they established it long enough. They kind of went into how he got there, but I wish they would have seen, shown more about their life, maybe shown some more about Andres raising Vivo, so you really get that emotional connection, because you just had kind of the intro, and then a quick backstory on where they came from, and then Andres dies, and Vivo takes on this quest. But I didn't really get a great sense of their overall relationship before that. So Andres is a pivotal character, but he just didn't really spend, they didn't really spend much time with him before he died. The second thing I didn't love is some of the supporting characters. There were some Girl Scout type characters that were, I guess they were the environmental voice in the film, but they were a little abrasive, and I didn't really. I think there is an environmental message in this film, kind of in a few parts, but it doesn't really shine through. And in the end, it wasn't like Vivo had to go back to like the forest, because he wouldn't. He lives in the city. He loves the city and the nightlife. So there were just some weird kind of odd environmental quirks that didn't really mesh with me, and a lot of the supporting characters just didn't really stand out. Some of the supporting animals I didn't really, it's not that they were bad, I just didn't care as much about them as I would in maybe some other animated films. The last thing I didn't love is the ending. And this, the ending is fine. I'm going to get into it, and I'll tell, I guess I'll go into why I didn't like the end. So here you go. And to be clear, I didn't, it's not that I didn't like the end, I just didn't love the ending. So during this trip, Gabi and Vivo are going from Cuba, at first Cuba to then Key West, and then up to Miami. So they finally get to Miami the night of the concert. It's a very roundabout way. They kind of run into some different characters and have some issues along the way. But they eventually make it to Martha's concert, and but they don't have any tickets, and so they have to sneak in. And when they sneak in, eventually Gabi and Vivo get separated. There's a door that Vivo can go through that Gabi can't. So she gives him the song that they were carrying. And what happened during the trip is the song was destroyed, but thankfully they both remembered enough of the song to transcribe it into a new piece of paper that had the notes and the lyrics. It was, Gabi did it, so it was in crayon, and it had some, illustrations, but the song was there. So Vivo takes the song and makes his way to Martha's dressing room, and she has refused to go on because she's so upset that Andres didn't show up, and then eventually a little bit later she learns that he died, so she's upset about this. And Vivo comes, sees her, and Vivo approaches her, and luckily she has the story of Andres's death in front of her, because the story has a picture of Andres and Vivo. And so Vivo approaches her, and she kind of looks at him and then recognizes that he's Vivo, and is kind of confused at how he got there. And then he gives her the song, and she looks at it and she says, this is Andres' song. And I'm surprised she was able to know that, because it was in crayon. It said, it said Para Marta, so it was clearly for her. But it was like signed by Gabi and Vivo, and it had like illustrations, but maybe she just recognizes his musical style. We'll go with that. And so she gets the song, she thanks Vivo, she is excited to have a piece of Andres and to finally know that what Andres felt about her. And then she goes on stage, and Vivo, I expected Vivo to go to the concert, but he doesn't. He gets out and he sees Gabi, I guess in the car with her mother. At this point, it's because Gabi couldn't go with them, she got captured by security and was taken back to her mother, who was going to take her back to Key West. And Gabi is saying this understandably crazy story about a monkey that had to go to Marta to give the final music from Andres. And so her mother obviously doesn't believe her. And then this monkey appears, and her mother recognizes the monkey as Vivo, recognizes the monkey as Andres' monkey. And then she finally believes Gabi, and they go to the concert. They somehow were able to get tickets to this sold out, the sold out final concert, but they do, because it wouldn't be a great movie if they just sat outside. And when they get there, Marta, who's voiced by Gloria Estefan, so clearly a great singer, and I kind of love that she was playing this experienced superstar, because I think it's a perfect fit for her. And so Marta then sings Andres' song, the Para Marta. And so you get this kind of very beautiful end scene where Marta is singing, and then like Andres's memory goes up on stage, and they kind of dance a little bit. And then the show is over, and it cuts forward to Vivo and Gabi kind of hustling on the streets. I mean, I guess they're not hustling; they're just performing on the streets. That's what Vivo was doing in Cuba, and so I think they're in Key West at this point, and so they have a little show. Everyone's around. It's this kind of happy end number, and then a lot of the characters from the film show up, and Marta shows up, and it's the end song. But I guess my disappointment with the ending is the ending is fine. It kind of comes together, but it's just so sad that these two people didn't express how they felt years ago. I mean, there was no impediment to Andres going with Marta. I guess he just liked his home and didn't want to travel with her, but they clearly cared about each other, and then he just didn't reach out. He didn't reach out for all these years to say, hey, let's meet up, or hey, I heard your work. It felt a little manufactured, but I guess that is what it is. It wouldn't be a great movie if you kind of needed this final adventure. But I don't know, maybe the adventure would have been nice if Andreas took it with them, but I don't know. It felt like this could have been resolved easily. So that's my take on the ending. It just felt ultimately sad, because she gets his note and his feelings, but it's too late because he's already dead, and they are both so old at this point that they've missed out on so much of their lives. So maybe they'll meet up afterwards if that's what you believe in, but overall it just felt like a little bit of a bittersweet ending, despite the fact that their journey does come to a conclusion. So that's Vivo. It's available on August 6, 2021 on Netflix. I mean, look, it's a kids movie on Netflix. It's beautifully animated. It's not that scary. I mean, there is the death of Andres, so there is a death, but they don't really show it, and they don't everyone, they just kind of know that he dies. So it feels like it could be fine for most kids. There's a little bit of a scary scene in the jungle where they meet up with a snake, but overall it's a pretty light, enjoyable, entertaining movie to keep your kids occupied. And so that's Vivo. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.